the pot that waits. In the heart of Umadim, where the red earth kisses bare feet and the trees seem to lean in to listen, there sits a kitchen that never sleeps. Smoke curls from its chimney at all hours, fragrant and alive, like a beckoning spirit. It is here that Mama Needy reigns, not as a queen, but something older, something more rooted than crowns and titles. Her eyes are soft like old velvet, her laughter carries the warmth of firewood, and her hands, gnarled and strong, wield the kind of magic no one dares question. Mama Needy's kitchen is not just a place to eat. It is a sanctuary, a ritual, a dream you don't want to wake from. The food. Her ofensola, white soup, is said to mend broken hearts and silence quarrels before they start. A single spoonful sends warmth rushing through your bones, like a hug from the mother you lost too soon. Her jollof rice doesn't just sing, it dances, a chorus of spice and smoke and memory. People say if you lean close enough, you can hear it hum stories into the steam. Her roasted yams. They don't sit quietly on a plate. They sizzle, they swerve, they play like masqueraders at a village festival. And the stew, the stew, thick and red like dusk, clinging to the tongue with a sweetness that makes strong men weep and women bite their lips in reverence. Travelers come from as far as Enugu and Onitsha just to taste what the gods must surely miss. Long lines form before dawn. Drivers nap in their Okadas. Children tug on mothers' wrappers. Even birds circle above, drawn by the intoxicating smells that drift like a blessing over the compound. But the true heart of the kitchen, the one no one talks about above a whisper, is hidden in the shadows behind the fire pits. There, at the farthest corner, sits the iron pot. Heavy, dark, and almost ancient in its stillness, the pot looks like it could tell stories in a voice older than the hills. No soot stains its sides. No steam rises from it. It is polished, almost lovingly, but never used. Not until December. Every year, just once. When that 12th moon rises, Mama Needy brings it forward, silent as the grave. She stirs it herself, alone, locking the kitchen doors behind her. No one is allowed near it. Not her workers, not even her most trusted boy, Ikin. Ah yes, the workers. Always children. Always from outside Umadim. Nobody knows where Mama finds them, skinny, wide-eyed boys and girls who speak in clipped accents and bow too often. They learn fast, they smile hard, and then, they disappear. By the next planting season, they're gone. No goodbyes. No names left behind. At first, the townspeople said nothing. After all, who questions blessings? Who investigates joy? But blessings that are too sweet leave aftertaste. And joy too pure can feel like a lie. So, the rumors began. She cooks with herbs from the hills, some said. No, she feeds the gods, others whispered. My cousin's husband said he ate her okra soup and dreamed of his dead grandmother speaking Igbo to him, someone once claimed. Then came the darker whispers. The children, where do they go? She doesn't age, have you noticed? What's in the pot in December? And finally, in the corner of Mama Ifeoma's backyard, where palm wine flowed and tongues wagged with the weight of old secrets, one voice, old and sharp as a cracked bell, cut through the night. Every pot has a bottom, the gossip woman said, leaning close so her words dripped hot into eager ears. But some bottoms are full of blood. And the firelight flickered like it, too, knew something, the children of December. Long before the December winds begin to shake the mango trees and turn the harmattan dust into a soft veil over Umadim, Mama Needy sets out on her quiet journeys, alone, without fanfare. Not even the birds in the compound stir when she leaves. Her footprints, however, are known in the tiniest, dust-choked villages that cling to the edges of the eastern map. Places where the river still homes, where fathers vanish into bushwalk and never return, where mothers are lost to childbirth or sorrow. It is in these forgotten places that she finds them, the children of December. She doesn't arrive like a stranger. No, that is not Mama Needy's way. When she steps into a crumbling compound, the wind comes. Old women glance up from their mats and nod, as though they've been expecting her. The village head, even if he doesn't know her name, somehow makes space beside the fire. Children stop crying. Chickens scurry out of her path. She finds them broken. Hungry. Alone. Just like Amora. Amora was 14, though hunger had bent her frame into something smaller. The flood had come fast that year, tearing through her village in the night like a thief in rage. It left behind silence, mud, and 3 swollen corpses she couldn't bring herself to touch. For days, she wandered, barefoot, half-mad, and mute with shock until a blue wrapper brushed against her shoulder. Mama Needy didn't ask questions. She gave her water. She wrapped her in a clean cloth. And when Amora finally spoke, she cried out just one word, Mama. I will take you, Mama said, to a place where you will eat, sleep, and go to school. A place where the roof will not leave you when the sky is angry. And true to her word, Mama Needy brought Amora to Umadim. The first months were paradise. Amora had never known such softness. The beds in the girls' quarters were raised off the ground, the mosquito nets white and wide like angel wings. She wore uniforms that smelled of newness, open books with pages that hadn't yet been thumbed. At night, she ate from Mama Needy's kitchen, steaming egusi, golden rice, fried plantains that snapped when beaten. Mama even taught her how to write her name in cursive. She smiled again. She began to laugh. The nightmares from the flood became fewer. But as the second term rolled around, things began to unravel. First, the school visit stopped. Mama said there was no need for so much learning just yet. Then, the books were taken away, packed into a box Amora never saw again. She was asked to help out in the kitchen, just a little, Mama said, only after her chores. Before long, kitchen work became her full day. Chopping onions until her fingers burned. Stirring steaming pots while the sun mocked her sweat. Scrubbing floors slick with spilled palm oil. She was no longer one of the girls in the house, she had become part of the kitchen's invisible engine. That's when she started to notice the others. There were more of them, children her age, maybe younger. All from elsewhere. None of them ever talked about home. None of them ever asked questions. Their eyes were too tired. December crept in like a whisper. With it came a new kind of ritual. Mama Needy no longer slept regular hours. At night, she would leave the girls' compound, always carrying something large and round, wrapped in thick cloth, the iron pot. The same one that never left its place until the end of the year. Amora had seen it only once before, resting in the corner like it belonged to another world. But now, she watched Mama carry it like it held something sacred, or something dangerous. One night, the air shifted. The wind was still. Even the crickets held their breath. Amora woke to the sound of voices, low, guttural, rising and falling like waves pulled by a hidden moon. She tiptoed to the window, heart pounding. A faint orange glow paused from the main kitchen hut. She crept out, her feet silent on the packed earth. The kitchen door was cracked open, just slightly. Enough. She leaned in. Inside, the fire flickered unnaturally, its flames rising and shrinking as if it were breathing. Mama Needy stood before the pot, her wrapper tied tightly around her waist. Her lips moved in a language Amora had never heard before, not Igbo, not Yoruba, not any language from her schoolbooks. The sound was old, raw, like tree bark being peeled back. The pot whispered back. Or at least, something from within it did. Amora's breath caught. She pressed a hand to her mouth to keep quiet, but her wide eyes stayed locked on Mama Needy, who now leaned closer to the pot, murmuring, coaxing, feeding it words like prayers. Then Mama paused, and slowly, almost like she knew, turned toward the door. Amora stumbled back into the shadows, her heart thudding like pesos in a mortar. She didn't sleep that night. And by morning, she could no longer pretend not to notice the odd smells in the kitchen, or the fact that 3 of the children she'd walked with last week were no longer around. She hadn't asked. No one ever asked. But she would. Soon. Because some pots don't just cook. Some pots remember. The boy who asked too many questions. They said Obine talked too much. From the day he arrived in Umadim, thin-legged and sharp-eyed, with a knapsack too big for his back and a mouth that refused to stay shut, people knew he was different. Not rude, no, never rude, but dangerously curious. The kind of child who looked at locks and wondered what they were hiding. The kind who saw silence and asked why no one was speaking. Mama Nidi found him in a crowded market 2 villages over, charming a mango seller into handing him fruit without payment. A sharp tongue, she smiled, but a hungrier soul. He grinned at her, eyes dancing. I want to go to school. I want to be a doctor. Or a lawyer. Or both. She laughed, genuinely, richly. Come with me, Obina. Let's feed that bright brain of yours. And just like that, he joined the others at Mama Nidi's compound. At first, things were exactly as promised. He had books, pencils, warm food, clean uniforms. He asked 1,000 questions about why the moon followed you at night, why Mama's soup never spoiled, why no one else cooked like her. Mama Nidi answered some. Dodged others. Curiosity is a gift, she said one day, chopping okra with graceful precision. But gifts must be used wisely. Obina took the hint. But he never stopped thinking. It was during kitchen duty that his real suspicions began. He noticed how the kitchen always seemed to shift in December. The older children disappeared quietly, replaced with new ones who didn't speak much. Questions about past workers were met with shrugged shoulders or quiet warnings. Don't ask too many things, one boy whispered. Just do your work, eat your food, and be thankful. But Obina had never been one to let things lie. One sweltering afternoon, he was sent to fetch pepper from the back storeroom, an overstuffed shed that smelled of dust, spices, and forgotten things. While searching behind burlap sacks, he spotted something wedged between the wooden slats of the wall, a small, faded notebook wrapped in cloth and bound with string. He pried it loose. The name on the inside cover was written in tight, careful cursive. Amora N. Obina flipped through the pages, heart quickening. The early entries were innocent, notes about school, how good the jollof rice was, gratitude for new clothes. But the tone darkened as the pages went on. They said we are not going back to school. They said the work is part of our learning. But I see children vanish, one by one. She takes the pot out every December. There is a language I don't know. A smell I can't forget. I think the pot is not just a pot. I think it eats. Obina froze. He read those last words 3 times. Something inside him chilled. That night, he couldn't sleep. He stared at the ceiling, at the shape of the beams overhead, and thought of Amora. Of the other children whose names he didn't know. Of the ones who never came back. He decided he would follow Mama Nidi. On the 3rd night of December, he waited. The kitchen was dark, the compound still. The only sound was the soft coo of night birds. Then, just after midnight, the door creaked open. Mama Nidi stepped out, wrapped in her blue cloth, bare feet soundless on the dirt. In her hands, cradled like a child, was the iron pot. Obina crept after her, staying low, hiding behind the plantain trees and the water drum. She didn't go to the main kitchen. Instead, she walked toward a small clearing behind the compound, where the earth was black and quiet, where no one ever played. There, beneath the ghost light of a weak moon, Mama Needy placed the pot on the ground. She began to chant. Low, rhythmic, like the rustling of old leaves. Obinna held his breath. The air thickened. The shadows seemed to lean forward. The pot's lid rose slowly, creaking like old bones. And then, a sound. Faint, but undeniable. A wail. Like a baby crying through water. Like a soul caught between places. The smell hit him next. Not just rot. Memory and death. Like forgotten graves. Mama Needy leaned over the pot, whispering. Her voice was coaxing, tender, almost loving. Obinna took one step closer, and saw it. A skull. Small. Burned. Nestled in the pot like a prize. He didn't scream. He couldn't. His body locked, every muscle seized with terror. Mama Needy looked up suddenly, her eyes gleaming gold in the firelight. Obinna ran. Branches tore at his skin. Rocks beat his feet. He didn't know where he was going, just away, far from the pot, far from her voice, which now called out softly behind him. Obinna. Come back. Curiosity is hungry, but it forgets, the pot is hungrier. He ran until the compound was a memory and the night swallowed him whole. And the notebook. It stayed tucked inside his shirt, close to his pounding heart. Because some stories must be told. Even if they get you killed, the festival of smoke. Obinna made it as far as the yam field before she caught him. One moment he was sprinting, heart in his throat, lungs burning with the urgency of escape, and the next, a hand like an iron hook seized him by the shoulder. Mama Needy didn't scream, didn't strike. She simply looked at him with something older than rage. Curiosity, she said quietly, her voice like simmering oil, cooks faster than yam. He struggled, wild-eyed, trembling. But she only pulled him close and whispered into his ear a language he didn't understand, just like the one she'd spoken to the pot. He blacked out before he could scream. The next morning, the village buzzed with news. Obinna. Oh, Mama Needy says he's gone to Lagos. Science training. Very smart boy. She said he had potential. Government scholarship, imagine that. Auntie Needy is too kind. Too generous. The lie traveled quickly, like smoke through cassava leaves. And no one questioned it. Why would they? Mama Needy fed the people, clothed the poor, paid the school fees of children whose names she never seemed to forget. The woman had the spirit of 20 mothers. What harm could come from her? December arrived like a blessing wrapped in golden dust. It was time for the festival of smoke. In Umadim, it was the most anticipated celebration of the year. A week of laughter, music, drumming, and dancing. But the true centerpiece, the crown jewel, was the feast, Mama Needy's feast. No other hands were allowed in the main kitchen during this time. She cooked alone, from dusk till dawn. Fires burned all night, casting flickering shadows across the compound like restless ancestors. She began, as always, with the goat. A sleek, black creature with eyes like marbles. She slaughtered it herself, hand steady. Blood poured into a calabash, which she carried not to the stew pot, but to the other, the iron one, already warming over a low flame. Kneeling before it, she whispered. Not in prayer. Not in song. But in bargain. Take what I offer. Leave me the rest. As we agreed. The pot didn't speak back. But the wind around her shifted, as though something had passed between them. Something understood. In the days leading up to the feast, she moved through the compound with a kind of trance. Her eyes glistened, and her lips trembled with words no one could hear. The children worked harder. The fires burned hotter. The smell of smoked meat and seasoned broth coated the air like incense. But deep beneath the fragrant layers, there was something else, faint, metallic, wrong. A whisper of blood beneath the pepper. A note of grief hiding in the jollof. And always, the pot, sitting at the edge of the kitchen, just slightly ajar. Years ago, in a house that no longer stood, Mama Needy had children of her own. Twin girls, barely 5. A boy still learning to walk. She had been stirring a pot of beans when the fire started, faulty oil lamp, quick as lightning, merciless as war. She heard the screams. By the time she got in, the roof was a fist of flame. She never saw them again. Only ash. Only silence. She wandered for days after. Her hair burned. Her clothes stiff with soot. Until she found herself beneath a tree that had no name, weeping. And there it came. The voice. Smooth. Gentle. Cruel. Feed me one child each year, it said. And you will never lose anything again. No hunger. No pain. No grief. All you make will flourish. Your fire will never burn too far. Your hands will never be empty again. She didn't speak. She didn't nod. She didn't have to. The pot appeared the next morning. And the next year, the blessings began. The festival of smoke opened on a bright Sunday morning, the air full of drums and cheer. Buntings fluttered between houses, and children painted their faces with ash and chalk. Men poured palm wine onto the tree side. Women wore their best wrappers, stepping over fire pits with laughter that rippled like river water. And then, the food. Plates heaped sky high with jollof rice that glistened red as rubies. Stew thick enough to build houses with. Goat meat so tender it fell apart before it reached your teeth. Plantains caramelized in ways that made people moan. Bowls of egusi, yam porridge, fried snails soaked in magic. They ate. And ate. And ate. First came the laughter, deep, belly shaking, full of joy. Then, the dancing, wild, uncoordinated, feverish. But soon, it twisted. Eyes rolled back mid-song. Children giggled too loudly, their mouths stained red. Elders dropped to their knees, laughing at nothing. Hands began to shake. Some began to speak in tongues no one had heard since before the missionaries came. Someone screamed. A woman spun in place and collapsed. Still, they ate. In the center of it all, Mama Needy stood like a priestess of plenty, ladling food with a serene smile, her wrapper spotless, her eyes shining. No one saw the iron pot tucked beneath the largest table. No one heard the hum rising from it, the low, greedy hum of a thing well-fed and not yet full. But one girl, a new one, silent since arrival, watched everything from the edge of the clearing. Her name was Chika. Her eyes never left the pot. And in her clenched hand, wrapped in torn cloth, was a single page from Amora's notebook. Because stories do not die. They hide. And some fires, no matter how long smothered, remember how to burn. The pot breaks. The year after the last festival of smoke, when the laughter still felt wrong and the shadows in Yumadim stretched a little longer than they should, a new girl arrived. Her name was Chidima. She was slight, quiet, with skin the color of polished mahogany and eyes too old for her age. Mama Needy welcomed her like the others, warmly, with that famously sweet voice and a bowl of steaming goat pepper soup that could silence grief. Chidima accepted it with a small smile but did not finish the bowl. She washed. While the other children ran about the yard and swept the kitchen floors, Chidima counted things. How many times the pot hissed when no fire was lit. How the shadows inside the pantry stretched away from the light, not toward it. How Mama Needy's gold bracelets turned black on nights with no moon. She was not like the others. Because Chidima was not just a girl. She was the daughter of a seer, one of the old ones, born under an eclipse, who walked with both feet in the land of the living and the dead. Her mother had raised her with omens and whispers. And when the scent of Yumadim's caste festival carried into their dreams, the seer sent her daughter with 3 sacred tools: salt, ash, and river water. These are the teeth of the earth, her mother had told her, brushing her forehead with kola nut. Where darkness feeds, these will bite. Chidima said nothing to the other children. She knew most of them would not last. But at night, when the stars blinked uncertainly overhead, she crept to the back of the compound and drew her own symbols into the dirt. She poured river water in a circle, sprinkled salt at the 4 corners, and marked her forehead with ash from her mother's sacred fire. In the kitchen, Mama Nidi stirred and murmured to her pot, unaware that something had shifted. December came. And with it, the chill that never touched the weather, only the bones. The fires were lit again, the meat slaughtered, and the iron pot dragged out from its corner, its surface now cracked with thin black lines that spiderwebbed like veins. Mama Nidi did not notice. Her hands trembled once that month. Just once. But she pushed the fear down like spoiled broth. On the 3rd night of the feast, as always, she carried the pot to the clearing. The air was unusually still. No birds, no wind. Even the insects held their breath. She began her ritual. But this time, when she opened the lid, the pot groaned. It shuddered, violently. Mama Nidi staggered back, clutching her chest. A voice whispered from inside. Not hers. Not the spirit's. Salt burns you. The pot screamed. From its depths came not smoke or fire, but sound. Screams. Childlike. Broken. Familiar. Amora. Obina. The others. Mama Nidi fell to her knees as the pot cracked open with a deafening wail. From inside, ghostly hands reached up, thin, grey, flickering like candlelight in a storm. One by one, the spirits pulled themselves free. Their eyes glowed with memory, not malice. They didn't look at Mama Nidi. They looked through her. You fed us to the flame, Amora said, her voice echoing like rain on tin. You promised care, Obina added. You gave us to a hunger. The pot exploded. Black smoke rose like a pillar, and inside it, the spirit roared, exposed and angry, its voice the sound of grinding bones and snapping sinew. Mama Nidi screamed, tried to run. The hands caught her. They didn't claw or beat. They simply pulled. Into the pot's jagged, burning remains. Her feet scraped the earth. Her mouth opened in a final shriek, then silence. The pot swallowed her. And collapsed. Back in the village square, the feast turned to horror. Men dropped their bowls and screamed, clutching their stomachs. Women wept, vomiting thick black blood. Children looked around, dazed and glassy-eyed, unsure of where they were or why they had been laughing. The trance broke. Someone shouted, "Where is Mama Nidi?" But the kitchen was empty. Only Chidima stood at its door, her hands folded, her face unreadable. She said nothing. She left that same night, walking barefoot to the river. She never returned. A year passed. A new restaurant opened where Mama Nidi's kitchen once stood. The woman who ran it was kind but ordinary. Her food was good, never divine, never dangerous. The villagers said grace a little longer now. They built a small shrine to the lost children and tried not to speak too much of the past. But in the far corner of the yard, where the iron pot once sat, the soil remained scorched. Not a single blade of grass grows there. Not even weeds. Some say, if you place your ear to the ground at night, you can still hear a soft hum. The sound of cooking. Or perhaps a whisper that says, curiosity cooks faster than yam.